One is, who are the top buyers of promotional products? Now, traditionally, there are 3 industries that will always be buying promotional products. Education is a fabulous market. Even if you're just starting in the industry, education is a fabulous market. And the reason being is that, is there anybody in here that never went to school? Okay, all of you have a connection with a school, whether it be your high school, your college, your children's school. Start with what you know. When I first started in the industry, I'm a Penn State graduate, I contacted my alumni association, and I got sales that way. One of my coaching clients, her name is Teresa Gonzalez, she lives in New Fairfield, Connecticut, went to school in New York City at a college called Pace University. She contacted them. We were talking and she was saying to me, Rosalie, my sales are really slow. And I said, have you ever thought of contacting your alumni association? She contacted her alumni association, told them about the kind of business that she was in, the promotional business, and they asked her to come in. She set up a meeting with them. And from that one phone call, her sales increased 30%. They bought promotional items from her because they want to help their alum. And they introduced her to the other departments in the school. But the story gets even better. From that, she decided to become an education specialist. And not only was she doing business with her school, she started doing business with other universities in her area. Then she set up a separate web page just for schools. So that's what I mean about identifying your best prospects. She realized that this was a market that she enjoyed calling on and that she had a connection to. In my own promotional products business, when I first started out, as I said, I thought everybody was a great prospect for me. Well, at the time that I first started out, I was a teacher, I was working in the Philadelphia school system, and I was selling promotional products weekends, evenings, summers, holidays when we had off, and I really wanted to leave my teaching job. I really wanted to have my own business, but I realized that if I was ever going to make a go of it, I couldn't be selling these little orders to small retail shops. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I needed to have something that could give me a full-time income. So I decided to focus on the healthcare arena. Now, why did I do that? There were tremendous opportunities in my area. There were many major pharmaceutical companies. There were 2 major healthcare insurers. There were many hospitals. There were large medical practices. And not only that, my college degree was in health and human development. So it was a natural for me. So that's how I found my best prospect. Now, how did I get my foot in the door? That's another story that I'm going to share with you very briefly. You know, everybody wants to get the bigger accounts. What I did, I am very big on networking. I showed up at least once a week at the same networking event. I volunteered, I became a greeter, and I met a woman there who worked in a major pharmaceutical company, but she wasn't a product director. She worked in corporate communications, and she gave me a very small order for awards. I think it was probably a $500 order, and at the time I was working for somebody else, and I think I probably made a $75 commission, which I was very excited about at that time. You know, it was my first job outside of teaching, But because I did a good job on that, she introduced me to other people in her company. So that's how I started selling the larger orders. So my message to you is identify, if you want to thrive in promotional product sales, identify who the larger markets are in your area. Education, healthcare, finance has come back. The financial markets have come back. Technology is very big now. Now, I live on the East Coast, so the companies that I would be calling on could be totally different, or the industries that are thriving in my part of the country may be different than in your part of the country. So you want to know who the top buyers are. You also want to know who has a budget for promotional products. And one of the ways that you can figure out who top buyers are in your area is who's advertising in the newspaper. Who's advertising? If they're spending full page, if they're paying for full page ads in the newspaper, which could be $10,000, then most likely they're going to have a budget for promotional items as well. Whose names are on those billboards that you see when you're driving on the highway? Another way that you can identify your best prospects is who would you most like to do business with? Another one of my coaching clients, his name was Mark, he had always worked in a union. He was a union member, and he started a promotional products business part-time. He decided to focus on selling to unions because he was a union member and he knew they would be very receptive to him, and he also focused on selling made in the USA items. So that was a top prospect for him. Also, who is located near you? Scope out a 30-mile radius of your location. What industries are located close to where you are? And who has the budget and the authority to order? The last thing you want to do is be spending hours with somebody and then you find out they're not even the right person. And believe me, that happened to me early on. As I said, everything I'm sharing with you is based on real-life industry experience. So you're going to benefit from my wisdom and from my mistakes. So how can you find out who has the budget and who has the authority to order? Anybody know a way to do that? Yes, sir.
Check on their website.
Okay, you can check on their website and you'll see some names, but what if you've got a meeting set up? How can you find out?
Ask them.
Okay, and what's a polite way to ask?
Is there anyone else involved in this decision?
Okay, you can say, is there anyone else involved in this decision? Another polite way to ask is to say, can you tell me what your decision-making process is? Can you tell me what your decision-making process is? That's going to save you a lot of time, because sometimes you will meet with somebody and you can find out that they're not even involved in it, or maybe they're not ready to buy for 6 months, or maybe somebody else is going to make the decision. What do you do if you find out that somebody else is the decision maker after you have a meeting? What would you do?
Ask for a meeting with them.
Yes? Okay, so what is your name? Liz says she's asked if they'd like to forward information to the decision maker. Here's another suggestion that has worked for me. I asked to let's set up a meeting with that person. And if it goes to a committee, can we set up a meeting with that committee? So this is very important. Okay, here's another way that you can figure out if this is a good prospect for you. Who has an event coming up? They call that a triggering incident. Who has a special event coming up? Now, how would you find out about that?
Newspaper.
Okay, could be in the newspaper, it could be on their website. Big companies publish where the trade shows are, when their next trade show is and where it's going to be. So who has a special event coming up? And something else, the last thing on here, which I think is especially important, is who values your time? I can remember calling on somebody and they spent the whole time talking on their cell phone. And they really weren't interested in what I was saying. Now that can happen, and I realized, and you know, it can be painful, this just isn't a good prospect for me. I'm not going to waste my time. If I've, you know, left here and taken the time to talk to somebody and they think that, you know, they're going to be talking on their cell phone the whole time, that's not a good prospect for me.